we're all itching to get back out and spend our money like we used to.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a boon, a huge boon, just for sales. And obviously the shift we've been warned about to online has finally happened 100%, and good for that industry. But I think that there's still a desire to go touch and feel soft goods, and obviously eating and having some social time with your friends, and maybe over a drink or
people
what have you.
I think the taking a dump on retail is a little overblown. There are segments of retail that are going to struggle versus online. But when you just take time to think about what is in your neighborhood retail center, you can't get your hair cut online, your nails done online.
Right. Can't do hot yoga.
Yeah,
you
can't exercise.
Correct. What is up, guys, and welcome back to How to Invest in Commercial Real Estate. My name's Braden, and today we have our special guest, Jason Kennon, with Case & Associates USA. Joel's going to introduce him.
Yeah, I'm excited to have a friend of mine on. Jason and I have known each other for a few years. Most people, when they think of Case here in Tulsa, think multifamily, just because that's the bulk of what they own. But they actually have a pretty good-sized commercial portfolio, and Jason is director of that commercial portfolio. You handle industrial, office, and retail, I think, for Case.
That's correct. Yep. We have 8 properties, 750,000 square feet. The commercial segment of the commercial segment of the portfolio has been a part of Case the whole time. Mr. Case, the founder of our company, 38 years ago, he cut his teeth on the commercial side before he got into the multifamily side.
Oh, interesting. I didn't
even know.
Yeah, so before he got into development, working for Roger Hardesty, he was, part of his ascension in that company. Commercial was a big part of that. So he knows retail, he knows office, he just knows it through and through. He's got a lot of experience in a lot of areas.
As an apartment owner myself, there's a lot of people that would love to be Case or have his kind of career. That I think you said 30,000 units. They're one of the largest or the largest apartment owner in this part of the country. Great people, great systems. And so anyway, we're happy to have you on, man. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about 2020, just because you have several different property lines, and see kind of what was the struggles going through the pandemic for having to manage all those different types of asset classes. Anything you struggled with?
Yeah. Each one had its own struggle. Office in particular, you had a lot of people. A lot of companies did not have their employees at the office. So, literally a year ago, as people started sending their employees home, we didn't know what it was going to look like, and we were learning on the fly, like everybody.
Yeah, sure.
So, we're getting all this information coming to us from the CDC and from the local Tulsa Health Department, and Governor Stitt. It was tough. It was like drinking through a fire hose, and at the same time, you're trying to just prepare and plan for what are the questions going to be, how are the employees, what's their comfort level, what are their fears. So that was a very tough couple of weeks in the beginning. And as it, first it was originally going to be 14 days to slow the spread. So that wouldn't that have been nice? So here we are a year later. But it was learning on the fly, reading a lot of research, which it was, real time on the data and the information. It was just changing rapidly. So
did you have tenants that were, coming to you saying, hey, we went out of our lease, we want lower lease rates?
We really feared that. It was a great fear. We prepared for it, but for the most part, we really didn't have it happen. I think we had one tenant and, a 3 office building portfolio come and ask for that type of, relief.
That's pretty good.
So we felt, very fortunate from that perspective. We did have a few wanting us to work with them on, hey, we're a non-essential business. For example, I'll give you a real life example is we have an endoscopy center on the first floor. Well, they elective procedures were shut down. Mm-hmm. So that's their source of income. And, they came to us with what we thought was a very reasonable request. Hey, until we get through at least the next 30, 60 days, could you work with us? And we were like, sure, we want to be a partner with everybody. We want everybody to survive, because if you're not here, if we help you fail, that doesn't do us any good. So we tried to be the best partner.
How did you help them in that particular instance?
Well, really just rent relief, and we didn't waive it. we just really worked with them, and it was more a delay. Yeah. So you work out a plan, a repayment plan, or you might abate a month or something. But each tenant, each situation was different. That's a real example of what we did. We didn't abate any of their rent. They're a solid tenant, but that literally their income went away for whatever period of time when they couldn't perform elective surgeries. Now, as they got back into some of the relaxing of the rules, they could justify some more urgency or emergency procedures and more essential things, but not every colonoscopy is urgent. So they had to walk that tough balance.
So I suppose you had some of that same requests in retail, or
retail for sure. Restaurants, one of our shopping center, 101st and Mingo's, got several restaurants, and that was a very big fear, was that we were going to have one or two of them shut down. Yeah, maybe all of them.
Big restaurants too.
Yeah, and they're big restaurants, decent sized footprints, and we talked to everybody. We just went. We approached everybody. We have a really good lender for that property, First National Bank of Broken Arrow. If I can give them a little plug, they really were proactive with us. They contacted us first as we were contacting our tenants. Said, "Hey, we're here to help. What do you need from us? How can we make this period of time better?" So we went to an interest-only period. I don't remember the term, which really helped as we were working with our tenants, our restaurant tenants, and
because you're passing that relief down to the tenants.
Yeah, we were trying to. We were attempting to. So as the PPP was coming out and everybody was learning how to apply for that and how long that was going to take and how the mechanics of all that worked, we were working with our bank, talking to our tenants, and just trying to be the best partners, from vertically, from the lender all the way down to the user, the occupant, as we could. So that program for us worked out real well. I don't know if it did for everybody, but it seemed to be a very successful roll your sleeves up, just kind of empathy, working with as many people as you can.
Being a human, understanding
humanity of it. A year later, we didn't lose a single retail tenant over the pandemic. So
that's fantastic.
In our opinion, there's a lot of, you can say a lot about our efforts in the beginning that helped.
We lost a couple. We kept a majority of them, but we
were surprised. We thought there might be some true attrition, some just some of them that just had to close the doors. But
everybody's
restaurants are
paying now, and
so they are.
Restaurants are getting a huge hit with the new relief package passed yesterday as well. I
believe so. I didn't look at all the details.
It's significant. I want to say, I don't know, 28 billion, but that could be the wrong number. But it was a lot just set aside for restaurants,
specifically for restaurant. Yeah,
and so
hospitality.
I think with the economy opening back up, cases are dropping, and with this new round of money, I feel pretty good that most people are gonna be able to weather it.
I do too. And one thing that, if I can interject, in talking to restaurant users and tenants, and Society Burger is one of ours that we have, and that's a concept that Rib Crib has come up with.
I didn't know that was Rib Crib.
That was a Rib Crib concept. We're Society Burger number 2, and it's actually just called Society. And talking to their CFO and kind of their leadership team, one thing that the pandemic definitely forced them to do was get better at carry out and delivery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So things that there's not as much overhead. Obviously you're going to have your cooks and everybody that's supporting that food service, but they got more efficient and really learned how to be leaner.
Yeah, not as many wait staff.
Yeah, not as much, not as much staff, which is bad for employment. But at the same time, they had to do what they could to survive. And as they receive, and I'm going to depart from them specifically, as these users receive their PPP, then they had to decide, to what level are we keeping our staff? And so as they, were weighing balance, lean and efficiency versus trying to, keep bringing everybody back, if you will. That was a tough deal for all the restaurants, but I think that they have learned to be more efficient. They've really intensified their focus on the carryout, which, everybody had, but I think that they've gotten so much better that it's going to help their profitability as we go into this, maybe the next roaring 20s. As people are starting to say.
Oh, yeah. I think with the amount of money that they're dumping in the economy and the pent-up demand, I think certain segments are really going to take off. Yeah. Obviously, there may be pockets of office that continue to struggle, central business districts and things like that. But overall, I'm encouraged, I think.
Yeah, we are too. I mean, office is a whole nother subject, and we get into that, the office market when you guys are ready. But from the retail, industrial held its own. It's been really tight. I jumped on a CoStar LoopNet webinar today. It was kind of the state of the state for Tulsa right now. Industrial's vacancy rate is still below 4%.
Wow.
And it really hasn't wavered much. The good news is there isn't a whole lot of spec development coming out of the ground right now, so that's good for the tightness of the market. I see Braden doing a Tiger Woods fist
Maybe
pump.
we should look into that.
Yeah,
Maybe you should. Idea. So we don't expect much change in the industrial sector at all, but we're really bullish on retail, mom and pop shops, small neighborhood shopping centers.
So you guys looking to where? Yeah, are you guys looking to acquire?
I think we would, and I think we definitely would as we start seeing. We haven't seen a whole lot of deal flow come our way, but we're not actively calling people say, "Hey, send me your sales write-ups," and I need to start doing that because I think there's some opportunities out there. But we're all itching to get back out and spend our money like we used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I think it's going to be a boon, a huge boon, just for sales. And obviously the shift we've been warned about to online has finally happened 100%, and good for that industry. But I think that there's still a desire to go touch and feel soft goods, and obviously eating and having some social time with your friends, and maybe over a drink or
people are. I think the taking a dump on retail is a little overblown. There are segments of retail that are going to struggle versus online. But when you just take time to think about what is in your neighborhood retail center, you can't get your hair cut online, your nails done online.
Right. Can't do hot yoga.
Yeah, can't exercise.
Karate. There's so many things.
Restaurants, obviously, I think the delivery is going to be part of it, but I think there's still a desire to go out somewhere and have an experience. So there's segments of the retail industry that I think are strong and will be around for decades. Yeah. It's just like you said, trying to make sure you buy the right retail with the right mix of tenants, so you're not overexposed to something that's just selling discount clothes or something that may be ordered at Kohl's.com.
Yeah, anything you can order online, particularly in the soft goods department, they're going to struggle for the foreseeable future. Everybody still needs clothes, but it's so easy now to click up a button. You don't have to, and you can. And since it's easier to send things back, a lot easier than it used to be. That's just changed the game.
Anybody's wife buy several shirts at a time and then send 3 or 4 of them back.
That's just part of the process. It's just what they do.
Instead of going to the store.
I don't know about just wives. I would say anybody.
I need to get better at it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing you said earlier caught my interest. You said you were using local bank debt. So are you guys using local bank debt on like all of the commercial stuff, or tell me about the debt mix on that?
It is a mix of debt. So the industrial property, our retail, they are all local debt, local banks, and we have very good relationships with the local bankers. The office buildings, the opposite, they are life insurance companies for the most part. We have one of them's PNC. The other is it's Transamerica. Aegon I couldn't think of the actual name. That's the servicer.
I've heard. Life company is a really good way to go, but it's typically lower LTV. Is that what you guys have?
Yeah, definitely lower LTV, and you're going to have more just more loan covenants that are a little bit stricter, more reporting required, more than just sending a detailed rent roll and a P&L monthly. You're going to have some things that they're just going to require. Sometimes they do annual inspections and.
The trade-off for that is a lower interest rate, or
you just get a more attractive rate, and you can
10-year fixed, and maybe nice. 30-year AM or no?
25-year typically, and a lot of times you can accomplish it at non-recourse, so nobody on the hook, other than like a bad boy carve out for environmental and things like that. Yeah. But it's basically non-recourse, and that's one of coupled with the attractive rate. Is that
might not be a bad way to have on office is the non-recourse option on office, just in case things get really bad in the office market.
Yeah, but those guys didn't call you and give you IO relief like the community banks did they?
No, I don't think we heard anything.
No.
I don't think they contacted us once.
I heard
that's a very good point. Yeah.
I heard our CMBS lender in the back of my head, like chomping at the bit, hoping we'd miss a payment.
Yeah.
So you could take it from us.
Well, CMBS is supposed to be coming back pretty strong, right? With the change in the requirement for the government agencies.
I didn't know that. I mean,
Well,
it's been like a year.
Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac they've got edicts coming down from the federal level. They're going to have to really increase their fair housing lending. So that's going to take some of that market, some of those market loans off the shelf or out of their, pool of assets that they want to loan. So CMBS can come in and get a little bit more aggressive.
Interesting.
Which I'm not going to go into explaining what that is. I'll let one of the experts here, if you guys like to talk about what CMBS means. But
yeah, we haven't had a debt show yet, but I got a mortgage broker I've been wanting to bring on, and we're scheduled to have him on, I think, next month.
Yes,
I'd watch it. I'd listen.
Yeah, because it's not my area of expertise either.
Nor mine.
I'd be interested to hear what they said on your webinar today and what your all's thoughts are on the outlook for office space, because I know that's a lot of companies are saying, well, we're just going to stick with the work from home. And
well, specifically on office today, it was more focused on industrial and retail. But I will dive into what my personal opinion is and what our team thinks about office. Kind of look in the rearview mirror and looking right now and then in the next 12 to 18 months. The work from home thing was not new, but with this pandemic, what it has forced people to do is allow people to work from home, because you have a lot of C-suite individuals that weren't necessarily big fans of work from home. Mm-hmm. Control.
Shocker there.
Shocker. Control.
Hey, boss, I want to work from home.
Efficiency. There's still a concern about doing dishes and also being efficient. So some of that's legitimate. I get it, but working from home had to happen, and so through that forced remote process, I think a lot of companies are realizing that, okay, I don't necessarily want everybody at home, but there is a segment of our workforce that it's not necessarily a bad thing that they go ahead and have some more flexibility in their work week, whether that's a 3-2 schedule where you're on 3 off 2, or you're on 2 off 3. By off, I mean not physically in the office. Yeah. And I think that comes down to an individual motivation, by the way. I think that if you're going to be productive, you can do that pretty much anywhere.
Yep.
I know personally with 3 kids at home, it'd be tough for me to work at home very, very for long periods of time. But
I tried it. It didn't work. Babe, I love you, but I went insane immediately. It was like day one. I was like, I have to go to the office now. I was making up excuses like my internet's better. I got whatever.
My printer's not working.
I think it's a different situation for everybody.
Woo, printer's not working. Things like that. Got to go in. Yeah. So a lot of people. So I have 3. I'm going to go take a step back. We have 3 office buildings. It's interesting. Richmond Plaza, where I office at, has a little bit of medical flair and more of a local ownership for the tenants. Mm-hmm. They had a propensity to bring their employees back a little sooner. Mm-hmm. I mean, not breaking any thresholds or laws, but
we would never
as soon as we were allowed to do it, or they were allowed to do it, they were bringing back a large clip of their employees. At Southern Hills Tower, my other building is 61st, and one of my other buildings is 61st and Lewis. A lot of corporate tenants, Chicago, New York, some Houston-based groups. We're still only about 25% occupied physically.
Yeah, it does seem like the bigger corporations. Yeah. Walmart's not sending their people back
so
yet.
They're still at home, and the good fortune for us is they continue to make their payment, but that always makes you nervous that how comfortable do they get with this workforce not having to be in the office. Yeah. I think as we get to quote unquote herd immunity or vaccination level that everybody's comfortable with, I think by the summer you're going to see that physical occupancy back in the 60s and 70s. I don't know if we're going to get back to 90 to 100. Mm-hmm. We'll see. I'd love to. I miss seeing people. Yeah. I know you guys have all done Zoom and Microsoft Teams or what have you. It's different. Mm-hmm. It was effective and it was necessary, but it's not the same when you can't make the personal connection. Mm-hmm. The old cliche water cooler conversations, they really mean something. You can really, there's just things you say in person that you hadn't really, that are off the cuff that may lead to certain conversations that are very productive that you're not going to have on a Zoom call or whatever.
That's a good point. I think when I think about Zoom, it's going to be, obviously people are going to use it for day-to-day office, but I think it's for that business meeting that you would, we really need to get in front of this client. A conference call isn't going to cut it. A Zoom call might cut it and might save that $1,000 trip from LA to New York. So I think the business travel sector the business hotels,
gonna
things
hurt.
like that, that's going to suffer
Yep,
because
absolutely.
you just aren't going to take as many of those trips as you would have otherwise.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah, I
with
agree.
that.
Which is one of their highest margins, which is unfortunate for them. But I 100% agree. Our company, as an example, we're in 6 states, and I'm departing commercial, but the apartments were in 6 states, and
I didn't know that.
we have supervisors that we would bring in every month, and they, we do a monthly financial. We call it First Pass, and basically you go through your P&L and you go through income, expenses, and what's going on in the property, the market, what have you. Sounds super thrilling, I know, but it's a very important thing about what we do and why we run our company so well. Is we're so hands on, and we're really into the details. Details matter, but you're flying in these supervisors from El Paso, from Corpus Christi, soon to be Kansas City, other places in Texas and Arkansas. And they're coming in every month. Got a day of travel. They got to get a hotel, and they got to come in for their meeting, and you're prepping for your meeting, which obviously is important.
Plus, they're out of the office.
They're out of their office. They're not around their employees, and then you got to go back.
Expensive meeting.
So not only is it expensive, it's inefficient. It's time consuming. So with the advent of this pandemic and Zoom and all the virtual, virtual been around forever, but now virtual, we're really making it work. We're not bringing them in anymore. Mm-hmm. We've committed to, we being the company, I'm just speaking about Case, they've committed to this virtual meeting, which has worked really well the last 2 or 3 months. In fact, they just signed off on an order to improve and enhance our conference room for better cameras, better sound, all the above, just because that's a real way we're going to do business from now on.
Yeah.
So if we're going to be that big and we're going to continue to what we hope to grow and maybe even get to 10 states, that's going to be a positive thing for our, that's right to the bottom line.
Yeah.
You're not having to absorb that into any property or do a property split for these travel costs. So there are positives that have come out of this virtual remote working.
No, there's winners and losers that are
Right.
going to have it. But like you said, all the companies not doing as much business travel, it will make them more efficient in their business, and the workforce becomes more productive.
Yeah.
Sitting on a plane isn't productive. Makes airlines money, but
Right.
it's not productive for the American workers. So
you try to be productive, but you're not. I mean, you might have a little bit of productivity. I agree.
Well, before we let you go, I want to ask you, looking forward, how do you go about evaluating your next deal? Is it a return profile you're looking for?
That's a great question.
Is it a deal type? I'm just interested.
Yeah. So for us, it's really cash on cash driven. We're not, in our.
I love that. Can we just pause right there? And
Sure.
just
So are we, cash on
appreciate
cash.
Yeah.
that?
You can
So
throw
why
it
does
on-
that matter? Why does cash on cash matter? It's because you're investing something and you're getting cash in your pocket that year immediately every year. You're seeing.
It's a real yield. It's tangible. It's what you're
It's not a bet on the future.
no,
plus you're paying down debt.
your
Plus it's appreciated.
absolutely. There's three or four different ways you're getting income, and not
So
all
what
of
is
it's
that? What
immediate.
is that number for you? I mean, I know it changes based on risk profile. Is there a target that you're trying to hit?
It needs to be north of 10 on an average, and we really like to be close to 15.
So that's
Sure, I'd like to say 20, but I don't think 20 is really
20 is
good.
tough.
That's
Today.
tough to
hard.
get to. But if we could be 10 to 15 and closer to 15 on that average, we're really interested in it.
10's
Our preferred
hard.
return, I don't think this is not public knowledge because there's so many investors in our deals, 150, 200 people that invest with Mr. Case and his company. Our preferred return is 8.
That's
So,
pretty industry standard.
It's pretty
That's
standard.
what we pay.
And I'm not going to get into carried interest or splits or the owner promote. It's probably
Yeah,
very, very
we've
standard.
talked about that in
Yeah.
other episodes anyway.
Probably very standard to or similar to what you guys do. But it's about the cash.
And are you the one presenting acquisitions opportunities to your leadership Case or whoever?
Sure, I can. If we have a broker bring us an opportunity, we'll bring it to me or Scott Case, who is our president and the son of the founder. We get stuff all the time, and if we think it has any legs or worth looking at, then we definitely we'll do a little preliminary conversation, maybe a little preliminary number run, running some numbers. But we're going to have a fairly preliminary conversation with him and the team, really mainly him. About what our appetite is and what our interest is in it.
Which property line makes the highest cash on cash yield on average
Well, that's tough at this point in the portfolio because of how long we've held a lot of the assets.
Yeah, that is true.
Because now we're to a point where we've given all of our money back to our investors. So,
oh my gosh,
that's tough.
that's so sweet.
In the beginning, it was office for sure, but they bought them right, and we think that we run everything better. We think we're going to manage it better. We think we're going to lease it better. And if we didn't think that way, we shouldn't be doing this. Yeah. And so far, that's proven to be a good philosophy. And I'm sorry not to answer it very directly, but I think office was fantastic. It's still very good for us. Office is a choppy.
You bought it so well.
We bought it so well. We felt like retail's been we've owned one of them for 4 years, and it's already kicking off a nice, cash on cash return. We've been aggressive and going out and trying to get some tenants too, but our partners are really happy. It's a closely held partnership compared to a lot of our other ones that are, 50 people or 50, investors in the deal. Mm-hmm. It's more like 10. But industrial, it's like this snapshot in time is probably the best cash on cash investment, that we've made.
I think driven by the local marijuana laws, right?
Well, no doubt about it.
That's been a huge.
Cannabis has been a boon for us. Yeah. That changing. Now, I will tell you from a market perspective, not from our portfolio, we're at a tipping point. There's too many grows. There's too many licenses that have been issued. They don't all make it. They're not going to all make it. You're going to have. I think there's 6,700 licenses that were issued
for grow.
And I don't know. I bet in the next 12 months, 1,000 of those go away, just because there's so much competition. And there's plenty to read about how there's international interest and non-Oklahoma interest in our state now. But I can tell you, there's a lot of good people trying to work in that industry. We've enjoyed getting to know that industry better. I've learned a lot in the last 2 years. It's not going anywhere. It's a viable industry. It's got a purpose and a place in our market. But everybody rushed into it, so we're going to have some shakeout fairly soon.
Yeah. What's that Warren Buffett quote? You don't get to see who's swimming naked until the tide goes out. That's the industrial thing.
We're close. Yeah, we're getting close.
Well, I just to kind of wrap up, I think we're going to see that across industries.
Yeah.
The pandemic and the fallout will expose a lot of people in a lot of different sectors. The multifamily market is so hot right now, but
I only hear stories, and they're amazing.
The pricing people are paying, they're not even really cash flowing. They're just betting that the prices are going to continue to go up. So I think we're going to have that kind of shakedown in a lot of different segments of the commercial real estate market. Which
should be opportunities for our companies. Yeah. I mean, obviously that's why we're here. We're looking for opportunities, and you don't want to see anybody fail, but it's not our fault when they make bad bets.
There's some people you want to see fail.
That's true.
When people keep outbidding me on every multifamily deal, maybe I want them to not do so well.
I hear that. That's fair. That's very fair. That's not vindictive at all.
What about development in any other sectors? You guys are obviously super bullish on multifamily development. What about the other sectors? Any appetite there?
No, not really for our company. Personally, I love development. I love reading about it. I love talking to people about it. We've shied away from it. We do what we do well. We build apartments.
Yeah.
We buy commercial properties well, and we run them lean, and we run them well, and we keep them full. But you guys, development is a different game.
Yeah, we're trying to get into it right now, so I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, so it'll take a little bit to get into. I know it takes a while to get them constructed.
Sure.
So, I think kind of like an office building. Every savvy, sophisticated investment company that focuses on real estate, they need to own an office building and at least have one development under their belt. That's what I think. And that gives you the experience that you need as you continue to grow your partners and your investors. I think those are important things. But to answer your question, no near-term appetite for us to build anything other than the multifamily that we do currently.
Well, okay, we're going to probably wrap it up. Okay. I want to say thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Yeah,
not only are you a good friend, but Case & Associates is a great company. It's been great for Tulsa.
Yep.
And of course, they inspired me and my partner as we are into apartments and now trying to develop. So appreciate you coming on.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I hope I wasn't too boring, but I get excited talking about commercial real estate is what I do. And
it was great.
Good friends and appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
Thank you.